The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
So, welcome everybody to today's webinar. My name is Werner and I will today talk about Pandoras Box hardware and software. I will give you a product overview, which we do at the Pandoras Box site. I will give you a little overview on the technical specs, the performance, and the latest news. But I will not do it alone. I will have Mike with me. So say hi to everybody, Mike, if you're online. Technical issues? Hello? Hello? Okay, so that is probably a little issue at the moment, but it doesn't really matter because I will just go through this. As soon as Mike is online, he will work on the questions. So I will not be able during this webinar to answer questions. As soon as Mike is online, he will answer some of them. And here we go. There he is.
Yeah, I am.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. The arrow is always in front of the screen, so I already made my personal webinar mistake, so I'm in now. Hi, guys. Enjoy.
Thank you. So Mike will be in charge for questions. And from time to time, I will ask him, then you will see his beautiful face again. And he will answer everything, and if they are important, he will ask him for everybody. We will record this webinar like everything else, and we put it online on our YouTube channel. I will show you later on. So let's get started. What is today's topics? I will show you the product structure of Pandoras Box, the software and the hardware, but I will mainly go into the hardware. I will show you some of the news, and I will show you the setups you can do with Pandoras Box, which is a standalone setup and a master and client setup. And I will talk a little bit about the differences between 32 bits and 64 bits, but we keep this very low because our very, very first webinar was all about this topic. So let's start with the Pandoras Box software. We have a software player, we have a manager, which is and an offline manager, and the widget designer. I will not talk about the widget designer today because we did this already in another webinar. You can check it out. I will show you the links later on. But I will talk a little bit about our software player and our manager software. So the software player is actually, if you use your own hardware and you want to use Pandoras Box, you can get one of these licenses. So one software player will always have one output. If you want to have multiple outputs, just buy another license of the software player, and this will just simply add up. 3 licenses, you will have 3 outputs, and so on your own machine. The maximum resolution on video playback is 4K. As well, you have 4 audio tracks and 4 effects per layer. 4 streaming inputs and 4 particle systems. Everything you can set in one sequence, and optional you can add the MPEG-2 encoder if you want to encode your content. So this is basically the software player designed for everybody who wants to use his own hardware. One thing, it is 2D with space. It doesn't have a 3D option, which is just going on the server. So let me take this over. Come on. Ooh, cannot read my own stuff here. So here we go. Pandoras Box Manager. So the Pandoras Box Manager is actually the software where you create the show, the main thing where you want to work on, where you have your GUI. The manager only has a master mode. Every other software will have a master and a client mode. So this is like the core for Pandoras Box. Everything you want to do will be done in the master. It will be, you will start your project, you will program your project, you do all the synchronization, you can manage all your different output devices, you can manage all your clients, you remote into, you have the remote control, you would start the GUI, and all the Pandoras Box media playbacks via the network will work from the manager. It has a multi-user license. You can record your inputs. It has playlists, and it has 16 audio tracks and 8 sequences, and of course a time code option. So the SMPTE link, you can input or output per sequence as you want. It has the preview, which allows you to view multiple outputs. You can set up, I think, up to 8 different previews in a thing, but you must be aware of performance issues. So for programming the show, this is very nice to see all the 8 outputs, but don't do it for a show like most of the people who work with Pandoras Box know before. It will kill a lot of performance. It has an integrated media encoder, and there is an unlimited manager. When you want to have unlimited sequences, unlimited audio tracks, you have the unlimited option. So one thing which is very interesting at the moment.
Let me jump in, Werner.
Sure.
There was a first question asking if a PB player requires PB manager to function.
If the player
If a Pandoras Box player requires a Pandoras Box manager to function.
It is, wait, I think I had it here, answered here. Because, let me think. No, you can start a player as a master or a client.
So every Pandoras Box version can run as a standalone version.
Exactly.
You start it in master mode, and then you have the same GUI, same interface to program everything, and then you later switch it to full screen, or you can even take one player and control several other players or servers via network from that one machine. At a certain point, it just makes sense to use a manager, to have it at front of house, and all your players and servers are.
I will show this later on if you want to use standalone and master to client. But the software player is a full Pandoras Box for your own hardware, so you can start it as a manager or a client. So a good option actually right now is. If you never used the Pandoras Box before, we have an offline manager, which you can use for pre-programming your show or your project, especially in these times where you will not have access to the office or limited access to the office. There's actually a 60 days free trial. You just go register at our webpage and download it, and then you can use it for 60 days. It will listen to all the incoming signals like ArtNet. It will work with SMPTE timecode as well. And the thing is, you cannot connect to a client. So it's designed for program the GUI and your show, but you cannot set it. You cannot connect to a client. So this is the limitation of it. You have unlimited sequences and audio tracks like in the unlimited manager, but no multi-user session or media encryption. And if you go full screen, you will see a watermark in the preview and in the audio. But it's pretty nice if you want to get a nice overview about the product, how to work with this, and so get the offline manager for your first tryout. So this is actually our hardware. which we produce. We have the small compact player, we have a player, and the big server. Let's start with the compact player. It has the following features. It has every hardware you buy will have the software installed on it. And like on the software player, you can start the Pandoras Box as a master or a client. The compact player has 4 video layers and unlimited graphic layers, which is on every Pandoras Box will be unlimited graphic layers, so it doesn't really count in here. You can go up to 4K with video playback, and it has 4 HDMI outputs. It has wireless, it's wireless controllable, it has Bluetooth, and it has the old RS-232 jacket for the serial transfer of data. And it has 2 mini jack outputs like you can see in front of here for a microphone and a headphone. But beware, there is no audio sound card included, so you have to watch the audio thing a bit. It has 4 effects per layer, and it's what you cannot see. It is 1 unit and it's half of 19-inch rack size. So 2 of these will fit into 1 19-inch rack. So I go a bit further on with the compact player. Optional, you can buy a DMX link input or output. You can connect a SMPTE link. You can connect a net link. And optional, you can buy you can upgrade the MPEG-2 encoder as well. The technical specifications about the product, you can choose between 3 performance kits, which is 0.5 gigabyte, nearly 1 terabyte, and 2 terabytes. They are not working as RAIDs. It's just one big SSD. And the render outputs you can choose between 0, 1, or 2. But as you saw, the software player, if you want to use the full 4 outputs, you can upgrade the thing and buy 2 software player licenses, and then you have a small device with 4 outputs. It has 3 USB ports, and it has a P1000 NVIDIA graphics card. We are working since 15 years just with NVIDIA. They're really reliable, they're really nice. So we will always use so far NVIDIA graphic cards. And the system memory is 8 gigabyte, and the external power supply has 120 watts. The performance, the biggest questions we always get.
Let me jump in quickly, Werner, because we have a few questions. So how many compact players can you link together? What are the limitations here?
There's no limitation. You can link as much compact players as you want in your project. If you have a manager software, just add up 50 more. There's no limitations. 100. No limitations on putting them into your project.
All right, and a similar question was, wait a second. How many systems can a Kulux master control? So how many clients? So it's the same answer.
Same thing, there's no limitation. You have to watch out your preview, of course, but you can connect them all as much as you want.
Okay, what is the required graphic card for external hardware?
We work with NVIDIA all the time, so we would always suggest NVIDIA.
Correct.
But there is a little, if you go into our specs on the webpage, there is a little documentation. What are the technical requirements for a player if you create your own player? Just dive into our webpage, kulux.de, and you will find some technical information, which is like the minimum standard for your own hardware.
All right, keep on going.
Cool. So performance, the main question we always get. The performance I will give you at the moment are basically still on the 32-bit version, because we're still working on the full sheets for our new 64-bit Pandoras box, but I will tell you later on how much the improvement will be around-ish. There is we have an official document for every hardware device which we have. So to give you an overview, this is the one. You can see it as well on our, Jesus, what is happening here? On our webpage as well. So the main thing is that you can have one DDS RGB with 4K 60. That's the biggest thing you can play back, actually. Everything else, if you want to try more, try out. So this is the thing we recommend you to use for, but if you have your content, just try it out, drop it on your timeline and try out whatever you can work on it. But the official version for DDS, for example, is one 4K 60 video playback at the same time. Let's move over to a Pandoras Box player, which is the big brother of the compact player. As on every hardware, the Pandoras Box and the Pandoras Box menu, very important and very good to remote into other stuff. That's our own VNC tool, is pre-installed. Of course, you can start it as a master or a client, and it has no limitations. If you want to put it on a master, you can combine it with a compact player or with a server. It doesn't really matter. This one has 8 video layers, and the same like the compact player, you can play back 4K videos. The maximum effects per layer is 8, and in the master mode you can work with 4 sequences and work with 8 tracks audio-wise. 8 tracks streamix, and because it's a way bigger hardware and it's a way, you will see in the next slide, a way stronger system. It's built for leave it on. If you have shows which run all the time, you can, once your system is done, your show is programmed, you can let it run. It doesn't have to be switched off anytime. It's built for 24/7 shows and operations. Optional things you can put into your player are, there's a number of video cards you can put in. The limitation for the player compared to the server is that it's just one. You can put into this machine. It's single or dual DVI input cards, single or dual or quad 3G HD SDI cards. There's a dual HDMI card, and also your audio cards from RME, actually, we are using. Can be 8 or 32 channels. There's ADAT cards, and there is a MADI output card as well. Which is quite new, quite nice. No, it's not new, but it's quite nice. If you want to extend the bandwidth of your network, you can put a 10 GB Ethernet card into a card which has 2 ports, 2 10 GB Ethernet cards for your network. As the same like in the compact player, you can use the DMX link, SMT, and the NetLink. As well, you can optional upgrade with the MPEG-2 encoder. The technical specifications of the players, or of the player, you can actually choose between 4 performance kits, half a gigabyte, around 1.5 gigabytes, 3.4, and a nearly 7 terabyte machine. Performance kits 2, 3, and 4 are have a RAID 5 array built in, and the PK1 has actually 2 480 gigabytes cards, so it's a RAID 1. It's a mirrored system. The outputs, the rendered outputs, can be from 0 to 4. So it's either 0, 1, 2, or 4. The 0 output player will be used as a master that you can run your manager on. So if you want to preview your stuff, you need a way stronger machine than a complex player. So there is people who say, I want to have like a very strong, very nice machine for my master software to run my GUI. Then you will buy a 0 output player, for example. It has 10 USB ports. 2 of them are easy accessible in front. As you can see, it's 19-inch rack mounted as well. You can put it in a big rack. And it has, of course, an NVIDIA graphics card too, which is the P4000 graphics card. And it has 4 DisplayPort outputs card. Each of these DisplayPort outputs has a 4K 60 bandwidth. The system memory is 8 GB, and the power supply is a lot bigger than the compact player. It has 850 watts, and it works with one big CPU. The performance, again, you can download the, here actually is the link where you can download the next sheet where I show you the full performance sheets. So the path is you just go to menu, support, download, technical documents. I can show you, hopefully. No, I erased that. I will show you probably at the very end. So the performance sheet is this one. So we have actually a max tab and a show tab. So the actual performance sheet, the max thing is, of course, that's like the counted, the labori thing. The most you can put content, run content at the same time on your sequence, and the show values will be a bit limited and make a more safe amount of videos which you can run at the same time. And as you can see here, the improvement with the DDS RGB 4K 60 image sequences, they can go with the bigger performance kit up to 4. The PK1 can do 3, and the biggest can have 4 of them. But you can download this very simple at our webpage, or just if you watch this again, pause this video. So let's move over to our server. It has the following features, like the other hardwares as well. Software is installed on it. It has no limitations on video layers, no limitations on graphic layers. You can have bigger video playback than 4K. You have 3D compositing space, so you can work with full 3D in a full 3D environment. It has advanced 3D project mapping, unlimited effects per layer. It has unlimited sequences. It has a built-in warper on your output and an external warper. It has unlimited audio checks in the software, 32 streaming X inputs, and the MPEG 2 encoder is included. Actually, I forgot to make a little break. Mike, were there any questions about the player?
Mainly about the input cards. So they asked about the 12G SDI card. What's happening with that one?
Okay, I will come to this later. Actually, you just go into YouTube video, because we made a full webinar 2 days ago about the 12G encode, and it's just online since now. As soon as we're at the end of the webinar, I show you the link. There's a full webinar about this input card. So I think it's released, and you will get all the information over there, because we just made a webinar about it. Correct. Anything else?
And another question is, do all outputs of Pandoras Box give 4K output?
all outputs can, well, it depends how many videos what you want to play spontaneously. The graphic cards can do 4 times 4K, but then you have, of course, the license you want to buy, how many outputs you are using. So it's 1 or 2 or 4. But the Pandoras Box server can do 4 times 4K. And the player, as you can see over here, will do for this one, well, 4 as well. Just the PK1 can do 3. Anything else?
All right. Yes. Will you be offering Dante or AES67 outputs on the hardware?
Well, there is, we can put you any RME audio cards in it. That is possible, of course. I think we have other options of audio card here as well. But I think whoever asked that needs to write an email that I can give you specific information which cards we have.
All right. Then, do you need to add unlimited sequences to the manager license when it is driving a server or servers?
It depends. If you want to have more than 8, I think a full manager, if you buy the regular manager, you have 8 sequences. And if you have the unlimited version, then you have unlimited seasons. It depends on the manager you're having. But with a server, of course.
No. And with any manager, you can control any amount of servers. You're limited to 8 timelines. It's a really big install or some kind of complex programming where you might need more than 8 timelines, so 8 different those situations time. Then you need, but it has the amount of servers in the back.
Okay. Wait, I had a little network issue. Do you hear me properly?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I was not getting the answer about the.
I said that the amount of timelines has nothing to do with the amount of servers you might control in a
okay.
setup.
So I get the questions wrong. Okay, yeah. So.
No, your answer was all right as well. I just gave additional information. Okay. Another question to the player. What is the difference between a player pro and a player standard?
Ooh. Actually, to be honest, I have to look it up myself because I work in this company when the version 6 was released. So I have a big poster in the backside. Sorry, will you write in an email to our support line, support.pandorasbox?
Well, let me jump in. That's way easier. So in version 6,
longer in the company than me. You know better.
In version 6, we don't have a difference between player pro and standard anymore. They are all on the same level. So in version 5, we had light, standard, and pro, and there, what was it? The amount of video layers, I think the amount of effects, the amount of audio layers always varied between light, standard, and pro. But this is all gone. You have one license and they're all the same. Yeah, so that's solved. All right, I think that's it so far with the questions. So keep on going.
Cool. Optional stuff you can buy for the server. The biggest difference is that you can have 2 video input cards. And these are exactly the same cards like I just showed you at the player. You can have DVI, HD, SDIs, HDMI, ASIO audio cards, ADAC cards, bigger network cards, SMPTE, DMX, and Netlink. There is an edu server version available. It has 2 outputs, media D and encryption, but it uses direct show for video input only. If you're interested, additional server version is available as well. Just send us an email. Technical specifications to our server. 5 performance kits, 1 to 5. Like on the player, the PK1 has half a gigabyte. Then you have 1.4, 3.4, 6.7, and the PK5 or biggest machine has 14.4 terabytes. Like in the player as well, PK2 to 5 are can have RAID 5 arrays, and you can have outputs from 0 to 1 to 2 to 4, and there is an octo server which has two P4000 and the SIM card. So we are using again the P4000 graphic cards from NVIDIA. And the system memory is a lot bigger. You can have 16 on PK1 and 2 and 32 gigabytes on PK3 and 5. And a way bigger power supply because we have two big CPUs. It's 1200 watts and a little LCD display, which you see over here with a little control knob where you can have some basic controlling stuff. You can start, the client can start a manager, can change networks addresses and everything. Quite handy, actually. So, specifications. Performance. I go straight to this official performance sheet, which we created for the 32-bit Pandoras Box version. You will see when we say with the DDS, it has in the showcase 4 as well, but we measured 8 simultaneous running 4K image sequences. So try it out. If you have the software, if you have the server, the best thing always is try it. It depends on your contents, on if it's compressed, if it's uncompressed. So much things you need to take care of. These are our official sheets. You have seen that now. The best way is to look it up in our webpage. And there's a second performance sheet just for PK3 and 3, 4, and 5, which there we measured the mosaic mode where we connected 8 HD displays. And this is a little difference. Then you can have up to, where is it? Oh, it goes to the uncompressed videos over here. So, any questions about the server?
Wait a second. So, why are P4000 rather than P6000 on the server? Any performance advantage of using a more powerful GPU in the players? So at the moment, the P4000 is still enough with all the performance we need to playback and to run Pandoras Box. We already looked into the P6000, and probably when we gonna implement Notch or other features like this later on, where we need more performance on the graphic card, we will switch to the next generation. If it's then still P6000 or maybe something else, we will see. Let me see, different question. How do you decide if you need a player or server? You can answer that, Werner.
Well, do you want to display three-dimensional? Do you want to map on a three-dimensional device? Do you want to go in the 3D space? If you want to have not just an X or a Y parameter, then a Z parameter, then you definitely need a server. We all work with servers. If your projection or your just project on a flat panel, a player is fine, but way more performance, way more, yeah, that's the main thing. You have way stronger hardware and you have way more possibilities, especially three-dimensional space.
And combined to that, there was another question from one of the viewers saying, what do you mean by 3D mapping?
The 3D mapping. Well, you can actually put a different texture on a 3D object. That's the main thing, I think. you map another texture on a 3D object. So this is all controllable by the outputs in the Pandoras box. Is that right answered?
Yeah. Okay, let me have a look. Okay, you can keep on going so far.
Cool. So I think we are shortly about the end. No, we're not. I still have a little bit to tell. So the hardware news from Pandoras Box. Every machine we are now delivering, Windows 10 is installed, and Windows version 19.9 is the latest we tested. So if you want to update your own machines to Windows 10, that's not a problem. There is new input card drivers for player and server, which you can download on our webpage. And there was the question about this input card already. We have a new 12G SDI input card, but just go on to the webinar number 9, which is online since today. I know it, I've just seen it. There you can get all the information about this new card. We have a new driver for the P4000 graphics card and new drivers for the USB devices on our webpage. So this is like a little bit from background news as well. The very first webinar we did so far was the big difference between 32-bit and 64 bits. So if you go on our webpage number on YouTube and go to webinar number 1, Thomas would tell you every detail, a lot of details, which is the biggest differences, what is the big improvement. The key things are, which are important for the hardware is, if you buy new hardware, the 64-bit version will create a new folder path, which you see Christie content. So far on your old machines, it was always C Kulux content. That's the biggest thing. But if you have an old machine and you put the 64-bit version on it, it will still run on C Kulux content. So it will stay, it will work with both paths, folder paths. But if you buy a new hardware, you will get a new folder path. We have a new Pandoras Box menu, 6.4.0. Yes, and the biggest thing about 64-bit is you can address more system memory. And roughly, this is probably not a very exact number, but the performance improvement is around 30%. Don't hit me if it's 28 or 32. Don't measure it. That's the thing I would tell you on an exhibition right now, 30% performance improvement to the 32-bit version. New codecs like ProRes and H.264 can go into Pandoras Box now as well, but still DDS and HABQ is still the recommended content you should take. And just check out the first webinar. Thomas will tell you a lot about the new 64-bit Pandoras Box. So the setups you can use Pandoras Box for. We talked about standalone and master and client setups. If you just have one Pandoras Box system and you don't want to access the show while it's running, you use a standalone system. You can get a compact player, program your show, set it to full screen, leave it on. You can buy or you can use a player, program your show, set it to full screen, and let it run. If you don't want to access the show while it's running for presentations, for museums, for hotel entrance halls, or anything like this, you don't need to access while the show is running. There is this standalone option very handy for you. The most common, the thing most people use in Pandoras Box, because it's a real-time render engine, is the master and client setup. As you can see here, the smallest vision, you have your own hardware, you buy a manager license, you put the manager and the GUI on here, you go straight into your Pandoras Box player, and the player will output whatever you programmed. So anytime when you can dive into your show and change something, preview it, see, you can control it. So this is like the smallest master and client setup. And here we see it. Whoever been to our Pandoras Box 1 or 2 trainings, you know this slide. So this is like the typical Pandoras Box master client setup. You have a manager which is connected. Every device actually is connected through a network. So the manager goes to a network. You have this little compact player over here. He is a client. You have 2 servers. They are clients or in full screen mode. So you can access your show all the time, because this manager, you just need a little display here. You will see what is happening right now. You can preview it. You can change things right while it's happening. So this is the regular master and client setup. And to make it a bit more, you can even control the widget designer with, you can use the widget designer to control the manager, to control your GUI, to control your show. Same thing like before, everything is connected through a network. Manager goes into a network, widgets go into your network, into 2 players and 1 server, and these are the output devices. So this is the typical situation, how to set it up. If you have 1 Pandoras Box system, make it standalone. If you have 2 licenses, make a master and client connection. That's the most common way of doing it. Any questions about this?
Hi. Okay, several questions about different topics. Okay, I will skip one question just a second.
You don't need to, because we will stay a little bit online after this webinar will be finished now. So just do the things which you think is interesting for everything. We can answer everything.
How many inputs can I have, and is it up to me to determine how many I need?
How many inputs can I have? 4, 8. That's actually a good question.
So in the server hardware, you can have 2 slots with input cards, and depending what kind of input cards you have, it could be, we have Quadro 3G SDI input cards, so it could be 8 times 3G HD SDI. We have dual HDMI cards, so it could be 4 times HDMI. So this varies a little bit. On the player hardware, we have 1 slot. So there you can also choose what kind of card you want to choose. You can also stream in NDI. We have our own streaming protocol, it's a little bit older, called Streamix. So these are other options to get this stuff in. Next question, that's one for you, Werner. Are you able to play back video that is encoded with multi-channel audio and output 5.1 audio over the HDMI output of a compact player?
I'm the audio guy, I should know that. I think, well, you mean it's encoded. You get a 2-track audio which has 5.1 encoded audio. Is that the one? That we cannot play, because we don't have a multi-channel encoder. So if you have 6 channels audio which you can use, you can output these 6 channels and then put them onto variations, but we have onto your speakers, but we don't have the possibility to encode a stereo sum into 5.1. No, this doesn't work.
No, that's correct. No, it said you have a multi-channel audio signal, and we want to output it.
You can output it like it is.
Yeah, we cannot reroute it, or we cannot change, I don't know, center to left or something like this. So as it comes in, we send it out again. We just nearly don't touch it.
We don't change it. We take the signal and let it go through.
All right. Another question. Okay, I feel that the performance of Pandoras Box systems Windows 8 is better than Windows 10.
Ooh, it's getting political.
Please recommend the best performance Windows version. Well, my honest answer would be XP. But
not supported anymore. Don't listen to this guy. No, not XP.
Well, it depends a little bit. Each Windows version loads images or videos different and in a different speed and just handles them differently. So depending if you're using more image sequences or if you're using more videos, my answer would already be different. I mean, in the long term,
I would say if you have a Windows 8 version, there's no need to update to Windows 10.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
But and in the near future, we have no chance, and we all have to use Windows 10. So this one is tough to answer. There are two other questions where it hit the same thing. So what is the recommended codec for content to use?
DDS and HQ. Oh, these are the formats, the codec. I will post a link where this is another, I think we will do a codec webinar as well, probably in 2 weeks' time, if Pandora has us in, because this is a big topic. So wait for this and go to our forum, just type in codecs, and we have a large number. This will this will explode this webinar now. Just go to our forum and just type in codecs, then you find a nice answer from Daniel about all our codec questions. Or if I have the chance later, I will post the code in the chat. The link, not the code. Another question.
A lot of codec and contact questions, so I'm skipping these and we will just do a webinar about all
We will
this.
do a webinar, definitely, yeah, I think so. I thought it was going like this, but then it would be a 1.5 hours webinar. I think we can stay on and ask some more questions. We will stay on.
Let me
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. There's another question. Is 10-bit encoded media or HDR output mode supported currently? Yes and no. So version 6.5 will come this summer, where we have the new DirectX implemented, and then we will also be able to play back 10-bit in HDR. But we have a beta version running since more than a year, so we're testing this quite a long time. We're doing already demos like this since last year ISE. So the progress of 6.5 is very far there. So this will come this summer. We wanted to release it on Infocom in June. Sadly, because of the virus, everything is postponed or canceled, but it's happening soon now. What else do we have here?
I think, Mike, we can stop here, and we will be online after this webinar. So I just stop the presentations. We close our microphone.
All right, perfect.
And then we will go on for further questions. We will answer everything. So you can stay on this webinar, and we will answer a lot. I just want to show you the links which we've done. So you can go to our webpage, you can go to our forum, and very important, our help file. As if you have the Pandoras Box system, there's a little question mark up there, and our online manual as well. It's very, very nice, very tough, very good done. We have somebody hired for just doing the help file. I love it a lot. And we have our YouTube channel where you can look up the latest cards. You can learn a lot about the 64-bit version. Click on this. Give us more inspiration. We will definitely do a codec webinar, as I found out now. So I think that's it from my side. We will stay for another 10 minutes or longer, answer your questions, and I will say bye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.